What is going on YouTube? Dale here with Driven Films, and today I really want to go over something that a lot of people ask me about a lot of the time. So I've done this sort of in the past, but I really want to touch back over it again and kind of emphasize on the main parts that some people may get confused or whatever when trying to swap your CG5 or possibly CG6. The main difference between the CG5 and the CG6 is the temperature sensor that reads on the cluster is not there for the CG6. I have one over here in the yard that I'm gonna be starting messing with in the near future. So if you don't know how to work around that, I should be able to tell you later on. But right now, this is a 98, 99, both have the sensor. So everything else should be the same as what I have going on here. But yeah, so I want to go over 5 basic things that you're going to want to know when you're swapping a F20B, H23A, or H22 into a CG5 like this. Number 1, the most important thing to note about doing this swap is the distributor plugs are really weird on the CGs. So the way I figured around it is I take the plug out of the distributor and I send it into Rawwire and have them make the harness, the same harness that you would normally buy off their website for the other models. I have them make that from the plug. So let me grab a distributor and show you what I mean. So this here is the typical distributor that's found on pretty much every F23A engine, whether it's A4, A1, whatever your number is. It's always got this weird ass distributor. Nobody makes a plug that fits, well, a harness that will plug up to this, which is the part of your car. This is the unit that's actually made to your wiring harness in the car, and this is the plug that's on your distributor, which is completely different from any other Accord Civic distributor out there. So because of that, and I don't know, I guess because not too many people actually swap CGs, so they don't really provide it. What I do is I take this off. So I got the cap off, and this thing is literally just wedged in here, just like that. So you just pull it up out of that socket like that. And then what I did, I cut the wires back here just in case they needed them. But they actually didn't need them. They just used the plug itself and they repinned it all for their harness. So, but yeah, you just take this out. I cut the wires and I literally mailed it to ridewire.com. I mailed it to, I want to say it was Brian over there. He's the one that took care of me, and within a week, he built my new harness and sent it right out. And it actually cost the same price as the ones on their website. So you don't pay extra for them having to do that. It's to me just better peace of mind. But as you can see here, there's that plug side that I was telling you about. And this little unit here is the actual part out of the distributor. And they just fed all of the wires to their rightful spots like they need to go. And bam, guys, you have a plug and play setup. Another thing that's good about going to them is your stock motor has a crank position sensor over here on the actual crank, whereas these have it in the distributor. So it'll actually, Rawwire's harness actually comes with this long wire that goes all the way around, and it plugs up back here. That plug right there that's on top of that hose, that's where it plugs into. Tell the distributor exactly where the crank is at all times. So that's kind of like deleting the crank position, whereas this will read it from the top. The F23 has it actually mounted down there where the crank is. And so it just reroutes it back over to the distributor so they'll know. But yeah, that's like number 1 that you need. You have to do that. Some people wire it themselves. I don't recommend it. I like my stuff to be able to drive like whenever, wherever. But yeah, you could probably mimic it if you want, but I just suggest it's like 50 bucks from Rawwire, and it deletes all the guesswork. You just plug it right in and it works. Number 2, the engine mounts. The engine mounts do not have to be changed. You can run completely stock CG mounts with H or F series engines. The only difference I want to say is going to be if you get an OBD1H, which then you'll have, you might have a wider, like these two bolts right here, maybe wider apart. And you may have to do something with that. You might have to switch the actual post mount out on the engine for one that's narrow. But as long as you go with like a H23A or the F20Bs, they are all OBD2 engines. You should not have to switch any motor mounts out. Everything will work just fine. So yeah, don't listen to people. You don't have to get some kind of aftermarket crazy mounts unless you're trying to get like a lot of power. But stock mounts work just fine. Keep those, save your money. Just get the engine and sit it in the car. I mean, it bolts right in here just like a factory F23 would. It's just the H23. Number 3, transmission. You run your F transmission if you want to. When I first swapped this car, I kept the stock F series transmission that came in the car, ran fine for about 2 or 3 years. I was beating on it, it ended up breaking, and I ended up finding a H22 trans. But with the Accord stuff, you can run the same, like the exact same transmission that comes in your Accord will bolt up to any H, F20B, H22, H23, all of those like will bolt from 90 all the way up to 01. They will all bolt right up. The only difference is if you get a SH transmission, that will not work. A manual prelude type SH will not work. So if somebody's selling one of those dirt cheap, that's probably why you can't run that transmission. The engine you can run, but there's something about the transmission with the ATTS. The axle inlet size on the driver's side is different, I think. If I'm not mistaken, it's got a bigger hole, so pause. But it's a little bit different. But yeah, any F transmission. So if you break your transmission in your CG and you run across somebody that's got a 92 like CB7 transmission for sale, you don't care about the long gears, you just want a transmission, it'll work just fine. All you have to do is maybe switch your speed sensor out with the F1, and everything else, like the bolt pattern is the exact same all the way up. That's the beautiful thing about Accords. You're not gonna find this in Civics. You gotta switch everything with a Civic. But Accords, the transmission in your car now, if you have a 5-speed, it will bolt completely up. Clutch, flywheel, everything will bolt right up to the H. So no need to be trying to find a matching transmission unless you just want that added acceleration and stuff. The long gear transmission will work just fine if you're on a budget. So for number 4, we're in the car, guys. Number 4 is the ECU. Now, I don't know how people do it. So before you go to comment about can you run a P something ECU that comes with the H or whatever, I don't know. I know for a fact though, when you're dealing with CG Accords, they have an immobilizer. And the only way really around that immobilizer, to me, the easiest way is a chipped ECU. So what you're gonna wanna do is find a chip P28 or a chip P06 that's been modified for VTEC, and run that along with the OBD2A to OBD1 conversion plug, which is this red unit you see right here. That will allow the OBD2 of the CG to plug into the OBD1 ECU. And aside from that, as far as like wiring goes, you don't need anything else. The engine harness will work just fine. You'll plug your injectors up. It's OBD2 to OBD2 with H23A and F20B. So you won't have to rewire any injectors. You don't have to really extend anything. You might have to unloom a few wires, but as far as like hardcore wiring, you don't have to do any modifications, guys. This thing is a direct, like complete, like all of this is stock F-series stuff. I just used the little cover that protects it going over the valve cover. I just used that, but all of this stuff is stock F-series stuff, guys. You don't need any special wiring skills. Nothing has to be redone. Like I said, you might have to reloom a few things so you can see like the wires down there might be a little, you have to switch them around a little bit to F-Series engine isn't quite as long as this, so you might have to switch them around, but everything is pretty plug and play here. I do notice a lot of people ask me about the outer air control valve setup. I don't run them at all. So when I do the chip ECUs, I just have James delete it out of the computer so I don't have a check engine light. And my car does not have outer air control valve. So it doesn't affect my car except for like on a really cold morning, it'll be kind of hard. Like sometimes I might have to hold the gas a little bit to let it idle till it warms up some. But I don't have AC or anything, none of that works. So yeah, it's just unnecessary and it's just extra work to me. Like I just like to simplify my setups so it's less to go wrong in the future. Now the final fifth thing that I want to go over with you guys is the accessories. All of your factory accessories from the F will bolt right up except the power steering. The power steering will not work. You can make it work. I have done it before, but after the second motor, I just quit on trying to make it work. But the only thing you really have to do is on F23s, well, on H23As, they only have a single row pulley because in Japan, they had electric power steering. And what you're gonna need to do is swap that over to the one from your F23, which is a dual pulley one. And then you can take your F23 bracket for the power steering and you can cut this ear off and use washers to use these two holes here, and it'll actually work. I have done it in the past, but again, this is the third motor that this car has had, and after the second motor, I just quit. I couldn't get the crank pulley off, so I just quit messing with it, just stuck it in there, and yeah, just haven't had power steering since. But you don't, as far as the alternator and the AC compressor, that all bolts right up from the F-Series. So you don't have to modify any of that. Kind of to end off this video, I want to sum up the last few little things that some people might misinterpret it when they're trying to do this swap. Again, earlier I mentioned that you don't need a transmission. You can use your 100% F-Series transmission. You can use your 100% everything F-Series, axles, starter, all of that stuff works just fine. You don't need any type of specialness for the H to fit in there. Again, this is an Accord. Accords are really simple to swap, guys. So if you're attempting to do this as your first time, the only thing I recommend is if you've ever pulled an engine, you can do this swap. Now, if you haven't like took an engine out of a car before or anything, then you might want to get some help. But if you've ever took your motor out of your car, like, or even done like maybe a clutch job or something and pulled the trans out, it's not that much difficult, man. Like it's the same as putting a stock motor back. It's just a few little tweaks here and there that's got to be done. And the main thing that gets everybody is that distributor plug. I get so many questions about that in my DMs on Instagram, and I try to tell everybody, but it's like, I don't know, it's people steady finding out about my car and they'll ask me because they just saw the car, but they've never seen a video on how I did the swap. So I really wanted to go ahead and knock this out, give a more fresh version. We just hit 10,000 subscribers, so I feel like it's more eyes now, and maybe if everybody would like this video and we share it, maybe to get the information out there a little bit better. But this is a really straightforward swap, guys. It's not that difficult. A lot of people might think it is, but it's a lot easier to me than doing a Civic. So that should say a lot. People are always saying how they can pull engines out of a Civic in no time. Well, this is a straightforward swap. You literally take the F out, bolt the H motor to the F transmission with the F flywheel, clutch, everything from your stock motor, and stick it back in the car. Stock mounts, everything. And this thing is in there. Axles go back, everything goes back the same as you took the F out. Then you got the motor in the car. You put all your wire harness on there. Everything plugs right in. Your injector clips, everything is the same. OBD2 to OBD2, everything is the same. Then you turn around and get that plug done for your distributor, and bam, this whole setup is perfectly good to go. Then you do your ECU, and that's it. Like, the car is ready. You can do a tune or you can do a base mount. Most people already ran a stock H, so Base maps are really cheap if you don't want to get it tuned, and it'll run just fine like that. I always get it tuned to get the best out of the engine that I can, but it's completely up to you. As far as the exhaust goes, I just do a H22 header, like header downpipe combination from eBay, like $60. And then I just modified, or have my muffler shop modified to fit a CG Accord catback. So it's like a little spot right here behind the motor that's got to be welded to the CG catback, and you'll have a full exhaust. So it's not a whole lot crazy about that. It literally costs about 40 to 50 bucks to have that little modification done, and you got the exhaust on there. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much gonna be it for this video, man. If you found any information in here enjoyable or you can use it, make sure you hit the like button for me. I will catch y'all in the next video. Remember, respect all bills. Peace out.